All right. It only took me 45 minutes to get everything set up, but we're finally live on this stream that we were going to start a half hour ago. Uh, Unfortunately, I have family stuff coming up, and my wife gets ready in the same room I normally record in. So I had to bring my backup setup downstairs, get my laptop set up, download all of our streaming software, make sure PAX internet was working, uh, and we finally got everything going. So hopefully this is gonna run smooth. I don't have everything up like I normally do, but I'll be checking to make sure the quality's all right. So, as usual, we got Pack over here from his uh, I don't know what we'd call it, your palatial estate out in the middle of nowhere. Uh, how's the internet working today? You haven't broke up so much.
We'll hold that. I don't know. The internet seems to be behaving itself at the moment, and but it seems as soon as we start up a stream, it blows up. So,
This is true. From the West Coast, we got Oswald here joining us for the first time at the ass crack of dawn on the West Coast. So, thank you
Yeah.
for waking up nice and early on your day off here.
Yep, no problem. Happy to be here.
And of course, I'm Josh Cherry Drank. So we're gonna take a look at this pick six. Mac, you want to start this off?
yeah, I mean, we're starting off in the sixth race, and I think the real standout here is Governor Morris. I think if you want to get cute in this pick six, this is a place that you can probably get cute and probably single here. I think it's probably the most singleable leg. For me, at least, it was. Governor Morris was a $600,000 purchase. Horse has been working extremely well for Todd Fletcher. Has some Wet Tomlinson numbers. It's by Constitution, who has been absolutely killing it with the 2 year olds. And to me, this is probably the horse that really stands out. It can be a single A for even on a deeper ticket like myself. I'm going to be single A here, but this is a horse that I think makes just a ton of sense here. Beyond that, I think you can get spready, but I think you can if you're on a skinny ticket. I think this is one where you can get a little single to or get really cute with.
Yep, I agree with that. It's something that, I have as a single A. I think that the horse is probably going to be singled pretty heavily, but it's a little scary that we have a 2-year-old first-time starter as such one of the easiest singles of the whole card. So, yeah, I like it though. It's a damn good horse. Seems like workouts were really good as well from what it looks like compared to the others. Yeah. Are you liking anyone else besides Governor Morris?
The two horses that I wanted to use as B's behind him would be, and I know it's at 5.5, but Wes Ward is always great with 2 year old firsters. It's going to depend on the rail. If the rail's dead like we expected, I'll probably toss the one. But if the rail looks passable, I think the one makes a lot of sense. Might end up, it's probably going to be second choice in here, I would think. I don't love the rail, but Wes Ward hits at 31% firsters. He's getting Jose, who he's doing real well with. $425,000 quality road. Keeneland September purchase. Horse makes a lot of sense here. Dam side is a little funny, but that's about as good as you get on the sire side for early prodigal sort of stuff. The other horse I wanted a little bit of was number 9, the Bill Mont horse. Works look good on this one. Robbie Alvarado up, which is his go-to, and only a $75,000 purchase, but horse has been working well and looks interesting.
Yeah, I agree with you on that 9 there. I am not a big fan of that one, mostly because of the rails. So we'll obviously be seeing how it plays throughout the early part of the card. The 9 is a B for me. My only other B is actually going to be the 6 as well. Malibu Edge with Joel. He hasn't been the best with the bias from what it seems like for trying to stay outside or whatever else, but horse has some pretty good wet Tommy numbers, and I like Malibu Moon horses, and seems like the horse is at least somewhat fit. Workouts were decent on it, and got to have at least a little coverage underneath.
Yeah, I actually may move that 6 up as well. Normally, shug horses, if they're legit first out, that you catch it on the work, so you have a massive work. He's not a guy that's sneaky about showing off a horse, but pretty big wet Thomasons. You're getting Joel up, and yeah, that I could see where you could definitely want a little bit of that 6 as well, and I may end up moving that horse up on that, depending on how the rail plays. Will dictate how that 1 goes, though.
Yep. Yep, fair enough on that one. I mean, it's pretty straightforward to me. I've got the 8 on top of the 6-9, and then 1 and 2 as my C's as of right now, and those might even get tossed depending on how bad the rail really seems.
Yeah, and I'll tell you with how I'm playing again, skinnier people. I think you can just use Governor Morris on top. I have the 1, the 9, and I'll probably move the 6 up to a B, and then I'm going to buy the rest of the races a C. Just in these races, these are the kind of races where sometimes a crazy price comes in. I mean, we've seen a 3% firster or a 3% 2-year-old starter in Duane Lucas has now won 3 races on the meet with maidens. So with 2-year-olds. So I mean, these are the kind of races where calamity can happen, and if this one of these big prices comes in, maybe.
Yeah.
Comment from the chat. Damn, Oswald looks tall as fuck.
That's because Oswald is tall as fuck.
Yeah, I'm 6'6", so that makes sense.
Yeah, and so I think we're having problems with the video, but it sounds like the audio is still coming through, so we'll just keep going with this. Like I said, my laptop's a potato, so I didn't know how well it was going to be able to pick everything up, but we'll keep going.
Fair enough. Oh, race 1 is now off the turf.
Oh, is it? Well, that changes freaking everything.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to change up my really big
all your
5.
tickets. Oh no!
Yeah, I just put those in. It's okay. We got an hour until that happens. So
real quick, just because I haven't, I've spent my entire morning setting this backup thing up. What's the weather like over there, Pac?
We are still raining pretty good right now. And we've probably gotten 3/4 of an inch of rain overnight. It's been showers and thunderstorms coming through. They're expecting, steady rain probably until about noonish at the track. And then it's supposed to be scattered this afternoon. We'll see, but everything's going to be wet, and I would imagine that they were only going to run 2 turf races. They were going to run the 1st and what was going to be the 9th on the turf. And if they're taking so one was on the inner, one was on the outer. If they're taking this off, there's probably a pretty good chance that this 9th race now comes off, and because they've probably decided it's too much of a bog where there's a safety consideration there. Because obviously they were saying, geez, this is the last day of the meet. If we tear the turf up, what do we care?
True, and I guess it's still in the best interest of the horses too, because apparently if it gets too bad, they might obviously have more chance of getting injured.
Yeah, exactly. The chance of slipping on wet grass is higher than slipping on muddy dirt.
Yep. All right. Well, shall we move on to the 7th race? Is that what it is? Yes.
Yeah, let's take a look at the 7th. Do you want to go first?
Sure. So that one is going to be off the turf. It is going to be run. Is that going to be run at mile 16th still?
Yeah, no, it'll be run at a mile and an 1/8 because it's older.
Okay, that makes sense. So what I have for that race, I'm actually really liking the 4 and the 6. Those are going to be my 2A horses. Jerome Avenue, the 4, has a 464 wet Tomlinson number, which is insanely high. So I am really, really hoping that is going to be one that ends up working out for the horse. Doesn't seem to have the best speed figures in there, but maybe because it's only been running on turf. And gets Chris Landeros up. Not a huge fan of him, but it could be something that comes in at a pretty good price. And the works have been okay, B minus. So that's my first one for that. And then the 6 Quality Choice has another high wet Tommy, has actually already won in the slop. That's actually what broke the horse's maiden. and seems to have been running okay since then. So, I mean, I'm really just trying to play those wet Tommies for the most part, at least as my A's, and then kind of go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the same exact two horses. I mean, that's not surprising because I think we both look at the same thing on off tracks here. The 4 and the 6 are the two standouts for everything that you said here. The wet Tommy, Figs, you're getting some decent jocks up here. And in these types of races that come off, you really need to kind of throw Figs away to some standpoint and look for either a horse that has history of doing well on an off track, or a horse that can sort of step up. That maybe like the 4. The 4's never run on dirt before, but the 4 has the Tomlinsons that make you think that the horse can run on dirt. Also, the 4, I think, will probably show a little more early speed here. Of the horses in this race, I'm not really sure who ends up on the lead here. I do like a forwardly placed horse on and off track, but I think that horse, with the wet Toms and with Landeros, who's probably a little bit more aggressive, I think that horse probably lands on or sort of near the lead. Other two horses I was going to take both of the MTOs as Bs. I'm not sure, they may end up being Cs. The 1A and the 13, both will be drawn outside.
Oh, there it is. The first pack. Dude, I swear to God, I think it's something when you start talking for a minute straight, at some point, I think your microphone's just like, look we've had enough, all right? We've heard you ramble on a little bit. I just want to bring up something for people who are a little bit newer, something that Pack brought up. When you're looking at a horse trying something for the first time, that is the time you want to start looking at stuff like Tomlinson figures and other types of breeding things. How well does the progeny do on the turf, the first time turf? How well are the wet Tomlinson figures? It's important. As much as that big wet Tomlinson figure is awesome, you might see like a 420, 430 on a horse.
Blaze it.
If that horse is running the slop 4 times after that point, has never even placed, and like all of his speed figures are much lower than on fast dirt, even though that number's big, it doesn't exactly mean that you want to use that horse. So it's just something to keep in mind when you're looking at stuff like pedigree, when you're looking at stuff at Tomlinson figures. They're really important when a horse is young or a horse is trying something for the first time. But as a horse gets older and as the horse does things multiple times, they become less and less important. So it's just something to keep an eye on. We don't want to be like Hodds, talking about granddaddy sires on a 7-year-old horse. So just something to keep in mind there.
Yeah, I was going to say one other horse in here that I don't think we've touched on is Pipes, the 3. Pipes only has a 391 wet Tomlinson, but does have one win on an off track. That was on a good track, I guess the one I wanted to focus in on was 31st of December of 2018. Horse running 81 in a stakes on a good track. There's a chance that the rain may stop. This track might start getting a little better. It may start moving more towards that good standpoint. Horse that's kind of interesting. Has a little bit of back pedigree there, that mare back class, whatever you want to say, that makes some sense on that kind of track.
Yep, I agree with that. That horse is a C for me right now. I might move up depending on what the weather's like and everything, because the horse will be closer to the lead, likes to be up closer to the front, and is taking a pretty decent drop, it looks like, as well.
Comment from the chat. Pack looks like he had too many White Claws yesterday.
I had 0 White Claws yesterday, but thanks for the compliment.
So I had one other horse that I am going to be using as possibly a C, maybe a B as well. It's actually going to be a 10, Spectator Sport. I love Ricardo Santana Jr. in the mud or the slop. The horse has a pretty good wet Tomlinson number. Did run in the slop 2 back, but he had Joel on a board and was breaking out of the 2 hole and was inside most of the time, and it says went 2 or 3 wide around the turn, it looks like, but that was probably on that day still not wide enough. So I was just thinking that could be a good one that will probably be a pretty good price. That kind of went against the bias last time and could end up being surprising some people.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. That was that second week of the meet, and the inside was horrendous. So 2 or 3 wide is not where you wanted to be. You wanted to be 5 or 6 wide. So, yeah, I don't hate that pick. It was a horse I didn't use because of that two back thing, but maybe I'll think about tossing him in as a C.
Cool. All right.
Next race.
Yep, on to the 8th race. Let's get through it.
Yeah, I mean, for me in the eighth race, there's the 7 horse Hayfield is just an absolute standout. Michael Dubb, who's been just cleaning house at Saratoga, service trained horse. And if you look at any of those sloppy figs, the horse is 3 for 5 on an off track, 2 seconds. So on an off track, never been out of the exacta. And some of those 84, 82, 83 back figs on and off track just absolutely tower over this field. And I'll stop talking before my mic craps out.
Yeah, and we're looking at Jason Service first off the claim as well, which that's going to be pretty damn good as well. Yeah, I mean that's going to might even be a lone A for me. I have the 8 in there as well, but I'm probably not the 8. I have the 4 in there as well, but I might end up just single A the 7 with that. The 4 I did really like
4
though.
scratched.
Oh, 4 scratched in that race? Oh, shit. Well, yeah, 7's a lone A for me then. I must have missed that one. So, yeah, Hayfield for me is definitely a lone A then. Who do I have? I have the 5 and the 8, which those luckily aren't scratched. I have the 5 and the 8 as Bs. Let's see. 5 I just liked. It's going to be up in the lead for sure. Seems to always kind of gun it out of the gate, and has won the last 5 or 6 races in a row. So definitely likes to win. Out of 4 starts in the wet, has won only 1, but came in second in 3 of them, and gets the leading rider aboard. There's a lot to at least like about the horse if the 7 doesn't fire.
Yeah, I completely agree with you here. I mean, if you look at the 3 or the 5, those are 2 horses I'm definitely using as Bs. Both of them have a lot of early speed, and both of them are dropping massively in class here. So that speed will show itself even more. Both of them are horses that I'm willing to give sort of another chance because talking a couple horses that have run on the wet before, but all those were at considerably classier races than this, and so I think both of those are interesting here as well. I also want a little the 6 Starlight Mission, who has run, has a win over a sloppy track. And if this completely falls apart, is because there is a lot of early speed, could be an interesting horse. And I didn't know what to do with Puffery, that big wet Thomason, but it's never hit the board on an off track. So I want to go back on Josh's points. Is that a horse you want to use a little bit? Maybe he's a C, maybe.
Yeah, my thing with the 8 was, yes, it does have a high wet Tommy. The highest Buyers ran in the wet was a 65, which looks like it was on a good track rather than really wet. And my past performances don't go far enough back to see what the actual track looked like when he ran the other 2 races. So I'm even wondering if the horse ever run on sloppy or muddy, and it could even
has never.
Better. Yeah, so it could do better with that. So that was my thing with throwing the horses a B at least, because it does have that high wet Tommy and hasn't gotten to fully use it.
Yeah, looking back, actually, I'm lying and saying it never has. A horse did run on an optional 80 that was sloppy and ran a 22 buyer, and it had 60s on either side. So I guess where I thought you were going was the fact of it's a horse who the one time we did run on a sloppy track really flopped. You're seeing those bigger figs substantially on either side, and that's a real flop of a race. And then the good races seem to be, I mean, they don't fit with this, but they're a long time ago. Probably a horse that God, you love the big fig, but and you love sort of Saz, who's going to be a little more forwardly placed, a little more aggressive, but and also outside drawn, staying away from that inside, which is going to be bad. But boy, I just it's one I want to use, but I'm probably, the more I think about it, I'm kind of moving them down the ladder.
Yep, that's going to be me as well with that. Yeah, the only other horses that I have as C's, you already mentioned the 3. I have that as a C as of now. Might move that up to a B and move the 8 down to a C. I have the 6, which you mentioned, and I actually also have the 9 coming off that long layoff. Has an okay wet vig, but has never ran in the mud, so could do well, could not. But I'm always kind of a little bit of a sucker for the horses coming off the long layoffs and getting placed into these sort of races.
Yeah, and I would say not to mention, one more horse, but the one horse as well. I know you hate the rail. I know the 7 furlongs, the rail's been bad. Junior Alvarado up. He's got a win on the meet on the off the rail, and in one of these sprint races on dirt. And he hits at a real high rate with Charlie Baker. It's sort of an interesting horse for me. Yeah, same class as last out, but was bumped the break and was 5 wide at the quarter. So maybe you throw that last race and look for some improvement, kind of second off the layoff. Getting blanks should be more forwardly placed. Wet timies aren't quite there, but one that would blow up a lot of people's tickets.
That's true. And, I mean, ran a pretty decent race in the mud at Aqueduct. I mean, ran 4th in a stakes, non-graded stakes, and, I mean, lost to some pretty decent competition there.
Yeah, lost to Espresso Shot of all horses, who is a legit horse.
Yeah. So, yeah, I might throw that one in as a C just in case.
Sorry, I'm trying to check all the stuff. You guys talk about the 6 here at all?
We did. A little bit.
Yeah, the one thing that I can say about the 7 that does scare me a little bit is the fact that the 7 is stretching out here. Has run it seems like it's run its best races a little bit shorter. I mean, does have an 82, has won its only try at this distance, although it was it looks like about a year ago. And it looks like the horse is just a little bit less good this year as opposed to last year. So I think the 6 might be worth a look on the cutback. Has run pretty decent at this distance. Hasn't won yet, but had a decent turf effort last time out. Now I know he's got Dylan Davis, which I know is not exactly everybody's favorite jock, unless we're talking about busting somebody's ticket. But I think this might be worth a look here.
Yeah, just to comment on your 7-horse Hayfield. I know you're saying you think you might be a little bit distance limited. The race that you're talking about, that 15th of July of 2018 race, the 7 furlongs, that was on a sloppy track at Belmont and ran an 82 fig. 82 fig probably destroys this field. So, the horse actually is proven at the distance and at the distance on and off track, which I kind of liked. That for me, that was actually something that moved the horse up. I wasn't as concerned about the distance limitation.
Yep, that makes sense. Real quick too, I want to get on to the next race, but for these kind of races that are muddy and there are some horses that are going up a little bit in distance and some going back, what do you prefer for distance-wise in the mud? Me personally, I seem to go towards a little bit more liking cutbacks and stuff, even from a mile to 7 furlongs or something like that, just because it seems like, I mean, obviously the mud is a little bit more tiring.
Yeah, I completely agree. I want a horse that's cutting back in distance, if anything. And the other thing I want to say is, this is Saratoga. You do get a lot of maidens. If I'm in a maiden race, I want a horse that's got a couple of starts. Again, mud is more tiring. You want that horse that's got a little more conditioning from a couple of race starts, if possible.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the things that I think it was Mike Maloney. I was listening to a podcast. I think it was the In the Money podcast, and he was specifically talking about Kentucky Downs with that uphill at the end. And a lot of times you get these 3-year-old and over races for maidens. And he always talks about how in those kinds of races, he always prefers a 4-year-old. He wants a 4-year-old there because that horse is going to be a little bit more developed, is going to be able to have that extra stamina. So now it's a little bit different in races like this because, we have all kinds of ages. But you got to remember that horses tend to peak around 4 or 5 years old, so that could be something to consider with some of these horses that are getting a little bit up there in age, and that are a little bit on the decline. So
yeah, All right.
Want to hop
to the
onto
next-
this 9?
Yeah, let's do it. This is one that I felt way too spready on. I couldn't make up too much of a decision. So right now, I am on the 2, 6, and 7 all as A's. I might end up cutting that down a little bit more, but it was tough for me. I think I do like the 7 the most out of all of them. Has the best bigs, it seems like, has been pretty consistent, but it's tough for me to go against. I'm just always scared of the other Chad winning.
Yeah, I completely agree with you here. This is one of the ones I went deepest on. If you were to force me to pick a horse, it would again be the 7 with that run that 102 on soft turf and the Fort Marcy 3 back. You're going to have soft turf today, so the horse obviously can handle a softer turf course. Probably get some pace set up in here. And that was the one that I would most use, but I'm actually 4 deep as A's. I went 2, 5, 6, and 7. I took all the works horses in here. Yeah, right. I was
can't
okay
do Noble
doing it.
Indy.
No, you can't. One more time? Come on, one more time.
No, I have the horse as a B just in case, but I cannot put that horse as an A for myself.
See, the one horse and I noticed you did not use the horse, and I think it's the horse that probably goes off as the favorite in here is Caraban.
3, yeah.
And Caraban for me is one of those horses that the last 6 times were all the time. Like, I just can't give this horse one more shot. He won 1 race in the States, loves to hit the board, but the horse won't win. I mean, it's got 6 wins lifetime, but 5 of them were international, and the damn horse, and it just, I'm going to get burnt by him today. Like, I know today's the day he's going to burn me, but he's a horse I can't use. I have him as a C, and I can't give him any more than that.
Yeah, I have the horse as a B just in case. I have that Caraban and Noble Indy as Bs. I don't like either of them, but I am not going to get screwed over by losing to them. But I think Chad wins. One of the Chads is going to win this race.
Yeah, and one thing I would say with the softer turf courses, soft turf to me is a surface that you want those horses that maybe have a little bit more races, are coming at a little bit more cutback. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit deeper, and I don't really know. I have a hard time here getting picky and being like, oh, I really want to get cute around this one horse. I think this is a race where I'm going to be spready. I'm going to be completely okay being spready. But again, I do like somebody like an Olympico who's cutting back from a little bit longer race to a little shorter and has some experience and has won at this distance over a soft turf. And I think if you were to force me to really focus on one horse, it would probably be the 7 Olympico. I think we both probably agree on that.
Yeah, I agree on that. I think the 7's the one that I prefer out of all the horses and out of the Chads. But anything could happen. There's always something weird that happens when he has 2 or 3 horses in there. So he might even send one of them out as a rabbit or something like that. You just never know with these kind of things. I completely tossed the 4. Doesn't seem to have good works. I'm not a huge fan of the horse. And then the 1 is just my lone C as a just in case. But doesn't seem to like the yielding turf to me very much.
The one redeem for me is on the lead in a turf race at Saratoga. We played this game before. He's stolen races like this before. It's not on the inner, but speed is very deadly on the turf, even on the melon. And that was the reason I felt like I needed to include the 4. He's probably a seahorse for me. And I also don't see there's more than one speed. Noble Indy has speed as well. So.
Yeah, I know Noble Indy's been working well as well, but I mean, he would need to jump up with Figs probably close to 10 buyer points, maybe a little bit less than that. But either way, I mean, he hasn't won since his 3-year-old campaign before the Kentucky Derby, so I'm gonna try to let him beat me in a way until he proves otherwise.
So obviously, Noble Indy wins this going away. Right?
Oh yeah.
No, I mean, I'm with you guys. I think the 7 is the standout here. I think you can make a case for pretty much every other Chad in here as well. But the thing I do like about the 7 is back in France, was running on soft ground and winning. Went ahead and won on soft ground first up here at Belmont. So I think, and ran a heck of a fig. So I think that's definitely going to be the horse to beat here. My guess is the 2 is probably going to get sent a little bit to go along with probably Noble Indy and Dream Friend, just in case there isn't any kind of pace up front. And I think the 7 just closes in and wins on this.
Yep, I could agree with that.
Yeah, I can agree with that as well. Yep.
All right, Pack, you want to go on to race?
Oh God, here we go. The hopeful.
The grade 1 Dwayne Lucas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because obviously, Dwayne Lucas has figured out how to win with 2-year-olds after 90 years or whatever he's been training for. No, I mean, I ended up here probably on. I mean, I'm seeing on the morning line that Greenlight Go is the favorite here. I don't have any problems with Greenlight Go, but I think the 2 that I really want to focus on were Gozilla and also Basin. Both of those 2 horses have been working really, really well. With Gozilla, you're getting the horses. I think he's got the second best Tomlinsons in the field. So if we still have a lot of rain, a lot of water on the track, and his maiden win, I think it was on was it Travers undercard, or I can't remember if it was Travers or if it was Alabama undercard, was extremely impressive. He was supposed to win it. He did absolutely everything right. Zayat Stables, Asmussen trained horse, put up a real nice fig first out. You expect him to move forward. I think Gozilla is super logical. And the one horse that I do like quite a bit in here at a bit of a price, I do have a notable soft spot for Tom Morley. I've said it more than once, but the 6 horse here, the highest wet toms in the field.
Nope, done. You reached your limit. Cut him off.
He was talking for a minute. Yep.
I hit my 1 minute. Time.
There we go.
Yeah, come back. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I just need to take a break. I just need to take a break every 1 minute. Got it. Inside Risk the 6 to me was kind of interesting at a pretty massive price. Yeah, Irad did get off, but it's Tom Morley, had a great meet. Adding blinks here, horse should be more forwardly placed, and horse is perfect across the track. Obviously, a number of these are, and with the big Wet Tomlinson figs, I kind of like the 6 a bit at a price.
I could agree with that. My one difference, or I guess bigger difference between mine and yours, is Gozilla. I am not a huge fan of, at least coming out of that race. Obviously ran a really good race, got some big numbers, but looking at the workout reports, on the 19th, first real workout after that race, says that the horse looked a little bit flat since that last race. And then the one right after that said that it was better, but not really anything too serious. So I don't know if that horse is ready for another big race yet. I'm still using the 4 as a B, but right now my A's are actually going to be the 5 By Your Side, which I really enjoy. That horse so far has already beat Basin and has pretty good wet figs, is out of Constitution, and is going to be towards the outside. And then the 7 is my other A as well. Both of them, I mean, I like the outside. Both of them have been working well. And, I mean, I think that one of those 2 personally is going to win. I've got the 3, 4, and 6 as my Bs as well, which, I mean, I could see any of them winning as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with you on the Gozilla. I did see the workout report, did kind of get that figure that maybe he didn't come out of that race as well as he did. If he didn't have the second work that had improved, I probably would have moved him substantially down. My thought is, especially with the 2-year-olds kind of return to form quickly, but, a big race will take a lot out of them. So my thought was, maybe that second work's far enough out that you're getting that horse that, okay, he just needed a little bit, he's coming back, and you're going to get that next big run out of him. But again, I can understand the logic of wanting to move Gozilla down. There were a ton of works horses in here, though, so this was a race that I think it's a pretty open race, and I think you can, if you have a price in here you like, or you want to focus on a horse, I wouldn't fault anybody for doing that.
Yep, that makes sense. I have the 1 and 2 as C's right now. just in case. I pretty much bought this race. We'll see how the rail's doing. I don't like the one because Ricardo jumped off for Godzilla, so that was a big thing as well as being on the rail. The two, I had a question for you actually about that. All the other horses on the PPs have the little Breeders' Cup logo thing on it, but the two does not. Do you know why that is?
Yeah, that would be because they didn't pay the entry. There's a fee you need to pay to become Breeders' Cup eligible, and also there's a Triple Crown eligibility fee, and I can't remember but you pay it when the horses, I think before they turn 1 year old, you pay like a $10,000 fee, and then that makes that horse Breeders' Cup or Triple Crown eligible. So they just never pay that fee, and they can supplement that horse, but I think it's $100,000 to supplement the horse if you're interested in becoming eligible for either of those two.
Okay, that makes sense. And I just noticed as well, the three actually still isn't getting no LASIK, which is a little interesting to me. I don't know if that's
Yeah, no LASIX could be one of a couple of reasons. Some trainers don't actually use LASIX until the horse really shows that they need LASIX. The second thing you'll often find is that certain races in Kentucky have bonuses if you run without LASIX. So being Jimmy Jerkins, he may be looking to ship this horse back to Fall Keeneland where he could get some of that bonus money if this horse runs without LASIX. It's a little bit of extra money, but if your horse doesn't need it, why would you, why do you need it? When I say Greenlight Go, the 3 is the one horse that I have as a B right now, and I may move to an A. The horse has done nothing wrong. It's 2 for 2. Robbie Alvarado stays. Him and Jimmy Jerkins have great success together. So it's probably a horse I should make an A. I'm probably being way too cute fading the horse.
Well, you also got to remember that being medication free is really a big thing in advertising. So
Yeah.
I think I'm on the 4 here. I always like a horse second time out, especially after winning their maiden. Horse are usually set to improve. Now, the one thing, the works have not looked great, but I kind of am going to balance that out with the fact that the Tomlinson figures on this horse are really good. So if the track is extremely sloppy, and Pack's checking to see how much rain there is, I think this is going to be the horse that I'm going to try and keep most of my plays around here. The 4, the 5, and the 5 is obviously one of the works horses, and has already improved from his first 2 starts. So that's another horse that probably keep an eye on, as well as the other speed factor here. The 7, I think, is going to have to probably go, and we got Jose on there, so I'll probably take the 2 Ortizes plus the other the better of the 2 the other Asmussen 4 here.
Yeah, I was gonna say the live weather forecast is it has stopped raining, but with the amount of rain we got, it's going to be wet for quite some time, and they are calling for thunderstorms late. So wouldn't be surprised if we get another couple of downbursts coming through. So I would plan on it being quite.
And Pack's over there doing a rain dance too. This is like his dream, his dream, a pick 6 carryover, mandatory payout on a sloppy track.
Yeah, I don't get much more excited than pick 6 mandatory on a sloppy track. That's Oswald as well, but both of us are. This is about as good as it gets.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just saying, just to explain that to people and the reason why we get so excited. Both of us are very comfortable. This is something we practice handicapping a lot, but so much of the money today will have no understanding that these races are off the turf and you have to handicap them completely differently. So you'll have a lot of dead money, a lot of people chasing this big money pot that are firing with just blanks, and it puts a lot of dead money into the pools. That makes these types of things very advantageous for somebody who knows how to look at these types of races.
Yep, exactly. All right, well, on to the final race 11, which I think that you ended up pretty much buying that race. Is that right?
Yep, I am buying this race. I am right now 5 by 5 A's, 5 B's, and I will just eat this race. I am fine ABC buying this race. Doesn't bother me in the least. This race is one of the hardest races I've seen on the entire Saratoga meet to handicap. There are a million different angles in here. There's a ton. I mean, everybody's effectively, almost everyone's dropping in here. And then you have a ton of horses who first time gelding and equipment changes and jocks moving around, and every single angle you could ever find that you could like, first time starter as well, is in here. And pick your poison. It's all here.
Yes. So I'm going to make my arguments for my two A's here, and I am probably going to end up being wrong with them, but they're probably going to be some favorites anyways. So the 8 is the one that I actually am liking a lot. I mean, there's a lot of good things going for the horse. Has a good wet Tomlinson. Has raced on just good dirt before, but if you look at the horses that beat him, they were pretty dang good horses, at least at the time. Looks like High Call and Family Biz, which were both doing pretty damn good at the time. And hasn't ran an actual slop or mud. We got Robert Falcone Jr. First off the claim, which he hits at 23% and has a good ROI. Gets Luis Saez up. So there's a lot of things that are going really well for this horse and is drawn outside. So that one I do really, really like. The other one that I'm liking is the 11 Linda Rice horse, Jose Ortiz, aboard, gets the cutback. Had a really good work from what it looks like in the slop last out on August 21st. And so seems like it might actually like it, has a pretty good wet Tomlinson number. So those are my two A's there. And I don't know if you have any objections to those.
Nope, those are both also A's on my ticket. I would say one thing with the A as well. If you look at Falcone, first thing, Falcone is 31% with Saez up. So Saez is his go-to jock, and he's picking up Saez over Manny. So that's definitely an upgrade. As much as I do love Manny, Saez has been having just a phenomenal meet, and I think he's one of those riders that on days where there's a bias, on days the track's off, he's a guy that knows how to read one. I've always been very impressed with his abilities there. Completely agree with you on the 11 Skywriting. Horse is taking a massive drop coming out of a maiden 65 down to maiden 20. I think that's the biggest drop in this race. And the horse has some early speed and some decent Tomlinson figs. So it's a horse that, with Jose Ortiz, who's a bit of more of an aggressive rider. So I think all three of those things combined to make that horse make a lot of sense. And again, it is that lovely Jose Linda Rice combo that does tend to do really well up here at Saratoga.
Yep.
Take a breath for a second here. The other ones that I had as A's, I really like this 2 horse quite a lot. Dylan Davis up. I know it's Dylan Davis, but first time gelding on the 2. Tomlinson figs are good. Horse is taking, again, a massive class drop. I know Oswald's going to give me crap because the horse is drawn inside. But this is the kind of thing. It's Zito. Zito's only got 1 win on the meet. They paid a decent amount of money for this horse. It's a Shanghai Bobby. And I think somebody like that, I think this is the race where you can find a price in here that and again, I did say I am totally buying this race. So I'm okay being a little more front heavy. That was the one sort of real cute horse that I had in here. The other one, that horse in here that I think is also a cute sort of angle horse is the 4 horse. Big wet Tomlinson figs. Tom Amos is great on the long layoff, and he's also limited sample size, but he's 40% maiden special to maiden claim. You're getting Lascano up and first time gelding as well. Sort of, there's about 12 different angles in there that you should like. Again, another Shanghai Bob.
Oh, and he's
90
gone.
seconds.
So it's 90 seconds, huh? 90 seconds. Okay.
I don't know.
So, yeah, but no, the 4 with Lascano to me makes a ton of sense. Just tons of stats all the way around. And Tom Amos he's been having a real good meet. He's only got 2 wins on the meet, but he's 9 for 16 in the money. So he's been legit the entire meet.
Yep, that makes sense. The other horses that caught my eye, the 2, honestly, I wasn't a big fan of, mostly because of the inside. The 4 is a B for me. The other 2 that caught my eye were the 6, which, I mean, it's a little bit of a long shot, but I mean, dropping and has Eric Kinsell up. but has an okay wet pedigree and had some pretty good works from what I remember. Yeah, some of the best works in the field. So worth a shot because the race seems pretty wide open. The other one that I liked actually was the 10. I like the outside draw. I love Ricardo Santana. Gets blinkers on, has a pretty good, really good wet Tomlinson number. And when he did race in that one muddy race at Saratoga, was in the 2-hole and had Eric Kinsell up. So, and got bumped at the start. So there was a lot of things going against the horse in that race.
Yeah, 10 is another horse I want as an A. I'm going to fiddle around a little with my picks, but yeah, all the same reasons you just mentioned on the 10, I can very much excuse that last race in the slop. It can't sell up, bump to the start, and also, getting a drop in class here. And Nevin and Santana have been very, very good together. Nevin definitely uses Santana much more aggressively than she would use somebody like a Cancel. So the blinks go on this horse as well, so I expect this horse to be a little more forwardly placed, which I do like coming from the outside on a wet track. And Santana, on this meet has been great on the dirt, and he's invented some pretty impressive trips. He's a guy that can sort of make things happen when they shouldn't happen. So,
yep, exactly. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much. Do you have any other last comments on at least that last race for now?
Yeah, I actually really in that last race. I think the 8's probably is that who's going off as favorite right now. I know normally I don't look at the morning line.
Yeah, morning line is the 8, and not morning line.
Yeah, I really just like the 8 here. As Sai as a board looks to be the pace in this race, and the good wet Tomlinson figures to go along with it. We know Size is going to be aggressive out of the gate, and the trainer stats look pretty good for first time off the claim. So really probably going to mostly go around this 8. Looking at the works, there weren't really too many standouts here, which is kind of weird for a maiden race at Saratoga. So I kind of agree with you, Pack, a little bit that I think that this is probably the race to spread in, because besides the 8, like once I start looking at the rest of the horses, I mean I can't really see much separation. So if the 8 doesn't fire, which at this level there's definitely no guarantee, this could be the race where you find the price.
Yeah, this is one of those races you'd hate to be live to a pick 6 sequence and then be like, oh, I cheaped out in this last leg and I'm, alive to something that's absolutely massive. And I think Oswald and I were having this conversation earlier that I would be surprised if this doesn't, for a 20-cent bet, doesn't pay 5 figs. This is the kind of sequence that blows up. This just screams that it's going to blow up. Now, of course, I'm saying that and it's going to chalk out on me, but this just really screams that there's a lot of value in here. You can make a lot of cases for a lot of horses. I think and also I think it's one of those sequences where the betting public is going to be really on a couple of horses for names and connections and things that you can get around.
Yep, I agree with that. So we'll probably just end up posting our pick 6 kind of picks pretty